One just like that on the strength of bonus points. So they are so important, especially with just 3 races left in the 2010 season.
Well, I know I talked to DJ and his crew earlier in the day, and it was all about just keeping JR in sight all day long and minimizing the points. DJ's a strong horse. Don't be surprised if he's not in the podium at the end of this day.
Todd Lewis.
A little more on the brake situation of J.R. Fitzpatrick. Just a couple of weeks ago at the last road course event at Trois Rivières, J.R. told me after the race he had no brakes. Zero, none, nothing. The pedal was going all the way to the floor. He's very aggressive early on in this course. In this race, as you said, this course is very hard on brakes. Andrew said before the race his tires will be a little softer. It'll take a couple of laps to come up to pressure. Look for another challenge from Ranger to get back out in front of J.R. Fitzpatrick before we get too much further.
Good battle going on here once again as DJ Kennington, all kinds of pressure on Kerry Mix, and then it's Don Thompson Jr. behind, and they've touched, going down into the hairpin, getting a little squirrely. Mix can't control it, and Kennington's going to dive inside, but look at Thompson in the number 4.
And there's a tire rub on the Castrol Edge Dodge of DJ Kennington too. You see the damage, and there's the smoke coming from the back end. The right front definitely suffering damage after the Dickies Ford of Kerry Mix and the Castrol Edge Dodge of DJ Kennington got together, but will this affect him later on?
Well, it may affect him, but right now he's got a vision problem. The hood is buckled up, and DJ's going to have a hard time seeing over to both front corners of that race car. But you know what? He's a veteran. He knows his way around, and that fiberglass will wear away, hopefully, before it wears through the tire.
Absolutely. He'll need a booster seat to see over that. You know, they were talking about the brake situation. In Trois Rivières, some of the teams were changing their brake pads 3 times after both practice, qualifying, and then for the race itself. Here's what happened going down, and there you see the contact at the top before they get to the hairpin.
Wow, DJ was set up real good to slide down the inside, and Kerry Mix just covered the spot. Just hard racing between 2 veterans.
And Kerry Mix falling well down the order in 25th position now as Andrew Ranger continues to work on the 84 of J.R. Fitzpatrick.
And Kerry Mix has had great success here. He's won here in 2007 and been 3rd in both 08 and 09. A driver that's really made himself into a terrific road racer, and that's Kerry Mix.
Oh, Kerry Mix has picked this up really well. He's always been strong, but he's patient, and he always likes to be a good study. Kerry Mix, the ultimate racer.
J.R. Fitzpatrick leading. Andrew Ranger breaking away, and there you see the number 11 of Jason Bowles out of Ontario, California.
And just how much are these drivers pushing it this early? If you look at their last lap time, they as caution flies for the second time, and there is DJ Kennington. Heavy smoke from that right front.
Well, now let's go back to what we said earlier, Billy, about DJ and taking and being smart, being patient. As we also see the number 56 of Howie Scannell Jr. out of Milton, Ontario is off course. Will Kennington now rue this day, do you think, with 3 races to go, knowing that, in fact, Fitzpatrick is leading?
Well, he's got to be, real patient, keep that car in the show. Right now, he's got to make a decision. Pit road and look after the fender, or let it wear off. I think maybe come to pit road and get it fixed up. Got lots of time left in this race to get back into the top 10.
Todd?
A little more on DJ Kennington. Yes, he has the problem with the hood bowed up, and yes, that fiberglass rubbing on the tire, but there may be more serious problems underneath the hood, and that what might cause DJ Kennington to make a stop during this caution period. They don't think they're getting all the power out of the motor that they can, and if they're going to run down on power, they want to take this opportunity to perhaps address that problem. Could be something as simple as a spark plug wire that's come off, but they want to take advantage of this caution perhaps to correct that and get full power.
Boy, but I tell you, when you look at what happened earlier and the breaks in this race so far, think back to the start and Fitzpatrick, except for that yellow coming out, he has horseshoes. They restart, and now he's leading. And look what's happened to Kennington.
Absolutely. His closest competition in the points battle just has a bad break trying to get a spot away from Kerry Mix. Now he's heading for pit road. JR's on pit road as well.
This is an interesting turn of events because we weren't expecting any pit stops here in this race. Again, just 23 laps. They're good for fuel. They don't have to stop as far as fuel goes, but look at, they're going to work under the back, so potentially something wrong under the back of the Schick Hydro Chevy.
Well, it's interesting. We did have one axle change early in practice on the morning. Kerry Mix got some wheel hop going, and he broke an axle. I'm wondering if it's something similar here.
Yeah, Kerry told me they went through the differential, changed it as well because they had too much RPM. They were getting up on what they call the rev limiter up on the chip, and he had to change the rear axle ratio.
We'll take a break. We weren't expecting pit stops, but we've got our leader in, J.R. Fitzpatrick. Canadian Tire, the official automotive retailer of NASCAR in Canada. Well, we've only completed 4 laps, but it's an eventful 4 laps already as we watch DJ Kennington leave. They've taken the Sawzall to it, trying to hack it to get it open. They took the carburetor off, Billy, and now he's back out. But also the points leader came in, DJ Kennington. He's been out as well. Scott Steckley we've seen, of course, and Kerry Mix. He's had his problems, so we've seen the top 3 in points all have their difficulties.
The top 3 making me feel like we're at the fairgrounds. They're riding the roller coaster. We had J.R. Fitzpatrick have a problem, recover. We had DJ get in the back of the O2 car, kind of recover. Now he's back on pit road. J.R. comes back down pit road with a broken race car, and Kerry's out the back. What a day.
And Billy, you said just as we were going to break there, you saw the one wheel spinning freely on the 84 car of J.R. Fitzpatrick. What does that mean?
Well, there's a couple, 3 things in there. There's a drive plate, there's an axle, and then the locker unit itself. So something's going on in the rear end of that race car for that wheel to spin freely.
And we've just seen, as you saw there, entrance to pit road, Kerry Mix, third in the standings. He's come in, and coming in again, J.R. Fitzpatrick.
Kerry Mix running in the 27th position currently, and J.R. Fitzpatrick making his second stop of this caution period. And you saw just how hacked up the Castrol Edge Dodge of DJ Kennington is.
And now here we have Kerry Mix, his crew having a look around. He's got problems as well.
And here are the standings coming into this event with Fitzpatrick with a 16-point lead and Kerry Mix. Boy, if he was able to hold on, how much he would have maybe able to benefit today.
Absolutely. You have to look to the number 4 of Don Thompson Jr. He is someone who can benefit greatly from the misfortune of the front runners. He sits 3rd right now, and he hasn't been a slouch all weekend long. He's been very, very quick in that home hardware show.
And Don Thompson coming off the win a week ago on the oval at Moseport. Now, what did you think this was?
Well, as I say, there's 3 things. There's a drive plate, there's an axle, then there's locker itself. When they pull the tire off, the first thing they're going to see is the drive plate. That's the end plate on the wheel that hooks to the axle. And then after that, they'll pull the axle out and see if the splines are still on it on the inside.
Boy, and if they're having difficulty getting the wheel off, does that indicate something?
There's something wrong with the drive plate for sure.
Now, is that something that they can fix to kind of botch together to make it through the rest of this race, try and get as many points as they possibly can, or is it going to finish it for the day?
Well, you know, if the locker's out of it, Dave, it's bad, but it's not all bad. The car will still move off the other tire. So he could limp through here and still be fairly quick and be better than half the field, most likely. Drive plate, you can change that fairly quickly. Axle, fairly quickly. But other than that, we're in trouble.
So Andrew Ranger is your leader. Lights are out on the pace car. We will go green once they come back to the start-finish line. It's Ranger, Bowles, Thompson Jr., Lapsevich, and Simone are your top 5 as we go to Todd.
Exactly right, guys. They're all trying to manage the day in terms of the points impact. J.R. Fitzpatrick remains along pit road while they diagnose that problem. DJ Kennington and the Castrol Edge Dodge just making another stop along pit road as well. We told you they thought they had some problems underneath the hood. Check for the basics, the spark plug wires and all the rest of it. Both guys only a handful of points apart up at the top of the standings, so they're trying to gather as many points as they can. Same situation with Kerry Mix, who seemed to have some body damage and also some issues with the rear end. They're all trying to manage their day, not manage the expectations, but manage the impact of a difficult day here in Montreal.
You saw some of the crew trying to beat something off that Schick Hydro Chevrolet.
Probably the drive plate or the axle. It looked like they had a slide hammer. They're probably trying to get the axle out of it to either replace the drive plate or the axle itself, Vic. A very lengthy process. JR is going to have a little bit of work cut out for him as we move on. As
we ride along with Jason Bowles in the Triad Racing Technologies Dodge, currently in 2nd place. As we mentioned, he's been 3rd at Moseport, 2nd in Toronto, and looking to go one better and starting now beside Andrew Ranger.
And we've talked a lot about how good of a road course driver that Andrew Ranger is in that 27 car. You have to give a lot of credit to the 11 of Jason Bowles. He's a champion in the K&N West Series down south, so you know he can get around in a stock car. And as you mentioned, Vic, he's done well in the NASCAR Canadian Tire Series.
Well, and give him full credit, I think, Billy, for him to come up